Ladies and gentlemen, let's deal with a subject that touches every single one of us, the media. Almost every news outlet today is biased. I do not care if it is CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, or daytime talk shows like The View. None of them are innocent. Each one has an agenda. Each one chooses how to spin a story. And what they leave out is often more important than what they say. Let me break it down for you.
The ultimate tongue lasher, the voice corrupt leaders dread. He shall not stop until their power is dead. Exposing every corrupt leader and every lie. With steel in his spirit, corruption will die. Corrupt leaders will tremble, the crooked will fall. Honor is the standard, integrity for all. Truth is his weapon, with fire in every word. His voice is the judgment, and justice will be served.
Take The View as an example. That show parades itself as balanced, but it is not. The so-called conservative voice on the panel rarely speaks with the conviction of a true conservative. The rest of the women are openly liberal, and when they discuss politics, you already know how the conversation will go. If a Republican does something, especially Donald Trump, they will hammer it as if it is the worst mistake in the history of America. They will exaggerate, they will use sound bites, and they will roll their eyes for dramatic effect. But if a Democrat makes a mistake, if a Democrat uses bad judgment, suddenly the conversation changes. The mistake is softened, explained away, or ignored altogether. That is not journalism. That is not honest commentary. That is propaganda. Let me give you a clear example. When Donald Trump threatened to send the National Guard into Washington, D.C., the mayor, a Democrat, went on the attack. She held press conferences, blasted him in interviews, and declared that her city did not need federal troops. She even claimed crime was already down. Trump ignored her objections and sent them in anyway. Within weeks, crime dropped by more than 90%. Suddenly, the same mayor who had been screaming against him changed her tune and admitted he was right. She even thanked him. Now here's the question. Did The View admit that Trump made a good decision? Did they acknowledge that the mayor herself admitted she was wrong? No, because it did not fit their agenda. They chose silence. They chose distortion. They chose narrative over truth. And now the same story is playing out in Chicago. Trump announced just this week at a press conference that he is sending the National Guard into Chicago, whether the mayor or the governor of Illinois likes it or not. Both are Democrats, and both are protesting just as fiercely as the mayor of D.C. once did. But we already know how this story ends. Crime will drop, order will be restored, and they will be forced to face the truth. But the media outlets that oppose Trump will do everything possible to avoid reporting that truth. They will look the other way, and let me say something here that needs to be said. Look at the mayor of Chicago. I do not even know his name off the top of my head, but what I do know is this. He carries himself like a teenager, with a haircut that looks like it belongs on someone in high school. Not a grown man, not a professional, and certainly not a government leader. If I saw him walking down the street, I would never imagine that he holds office. He does not project leadership. He does not project wisdom. He projects immaturity, and yet this is the man leading one of America's greatest cities. That tells you everything you need to know about the state of our politics. But let us not stop there, because Fox News does the same thing in reverse. When a Republican makes a mistake, they find every excuse possible to downplay it. When a Democrat makes a mistake, they magnify it 10 times over. They run the story for days. They put on endless panels to discuss it. They give the impression that every Democratic misstep is a national crisis, while Republican failures are either justified or quietly brushed aside. This is the sickness in our media. There are always at least 3 sides to every story. There is one side, there is the other side, and then there is the truth. But most media outlets are not interested in the truth. They are interested in clicks, ratings, and influence, and so they cherry pick. They distort. They pretend objectivity while pushing an agenda. This should bother every American, no matter what your politics are. Because how can you make informed decisions if you are only fed half the truth? How can you vote intelligently? How can you debate intelligently if your information is filtered through the bias of corporate newsrooms? Let me remind you, every president makes bad decisions. Every single one. That is the nature of leadership. You calculate, you gamble. Sometimes it works, sometimes it fails. But media outlets treat Republican missteps as disasters while treating Democratic missteps as footnotes, or vice versa, depending on the network. That is dishonest. That is destructive, and that is why trust in the media has collapsed. So what is the solution? It is not enough to tell people to watch multiple outlets. That is not a solution. That is just a way to survive in the middle of the problem. The real solution is accountability. There must be laws put in place that punish news outlets for deliberately distorting or omitting the truth. The first time, a severe sanction. The second time, an even harsher penalty. And the third time, their license should be revoked and they should be shut down permanently. Currently, if a media outlet lies and it brings harm to one individual, that person can file a lawsuit. But most of the time, these distortions are not directed at a single person. They are directed at the public. They manipulate society as a whole, and no one individual has standing to sue for that. That is why the FCC must be empowered to act. If these laws existed today, a show like The View would be off the air immediately. No drawn-out hearings, no endless fact-finding. It is all there on the screen every day for the whole world to see. They distort, they spin, they mislead, and they push propaganda. And that is a violation of the public trust. This is why I say the media has become one of the biggest problems in America. Not because they criticize one party or defend another, but because they no longer tell the full truth. They tell selective truths, and selective truth is just another name for a lie. That is the plain truth. That is the Mr. Analytical truth.